This show is supported by you and Elastic. Elastic is the company behind Elasticsearch that help teams find, analyze, and act on their data in real time through their search, observability, and security solutions. We're going to talk about it more in the ad break. But thanks a lot, Elastic, for sponsoring this episode and the live meetup that's with it. Jonathan, is that your soundboard?
No,
Or
that
was
was
that
not my
for real?
soundboard. That was actual live people, I think.
Yeah, you don't have video, so you don't know.
I'm assuming that was honest.
Stick around to the ad break to hear more about our beautiful sponsor. This is Kappa Go for May 27, 2025. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 15 minutes per week. I'm Shai Nechmad.
I'm Jonathan Hall.
And we have a bunch of beautiful people here live waiting for us to start talking about Go news. So how about you kick us off?
All right. So we have a new issue a new proposal that's been accepted that I want to talk about. Do you have any idea, Shai, how Go knows how many CPUs it should use when it's running?
It's always messed me up because when I use a container, I have to change it. So I don't remember. My DevOps guy did it, but it's always annoying-ish.
Yeah. So yeah, it should be a little bit less annoying-ish after this proposal. So the proposal is CPU limit aware Go Max procs as the default. And my goodness, I learned a bit about some of this stuff reading through just the description of this proposal. It's a really kind of messy problem. You might think it's pretty straightforward, right? I have however many CPUs in my system. I have 4 cores in my laptop, and so I should run 4.
You have 4 cores in your laptop?
Or whatever, right?
Do we need more Patreon supporters, Jonathan?
Probably do,
or is
yeah.
your code just this efficient?
But when you start getting into, like you said, containers and VMs and stuff like that, it gets really weird because you might have a 64 core or more physical system, but maybe you're allocated 4 of those cores. And when you try to decide how should Go decide how many CPUs to use, an argument could be made, it should try to use 64 because then it could spike to 64 CPUs for moments. Even if on average it can only ever go above 4, go up to 4, right?
Yeah, but that's a problem because you have 64 containers running on the same server because that's why you bought that huge server you're running a cluster on. But then every server, every container thinks it owns the whole world.
Well, I mean, still, the hypervisor or whatever's controlling that will still limit you to whatever your share is on average over some time period. Maybe it's 100 milliseconds or something like that. But maybe you want to be able to spike above that 4 cores or whatever you're allocated when you have the chance when nothing else is using those cores. So the point is, it's complicated, and this goes into all sorts of nuances and details that I'd never really thought about. They make sense. And then, so it was sort of the premise that I thought this is good. This makes sense. I have no flippant idea how you should solve this problem. What makes for a reasonable default? And I have to be honest, I don't actually know what default they settled on. The details of that sort of got fuzzy, and I was like, okay, this makes sense now. I'm gonna go eat a hot dog or whatever I did that day. But TLDR, this should make your life easier when you're dealing with VMs or Kubernetes or whatever. And the previous default just didn't make sense. It should make more sense now. You'll still probably want to fine tune it in certain circumstances, but it should be better.
So I used to do it every time when I deployed with Go Max procs or whatever, that environment variable. And now the trick that I memorized is useless.
Yep.
Thank you.
Deprecating your knowledge. One Go release at a time.
You know what? That's actually good. I less need for knowledge is actually better. I can focus more on my business stuff.
Very good.
So this episode is live and recorded with an audience, and you're very excited to probably hear about AI because we're in San Francisco, right? Ooh. Who doesn't love AI?
Me.
Yeah, everybody's nodding. We don't want to listen about AI.
I'm not in San Francisco, so I'm allowed not to like AI, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't want to move here. I'm keeping it under wraps. Just in this meetup, I'll say it's all right. But there was actually a good LLM talk from Incident.io. I know you're surprised. You're shaking your head. The main point of the talk was it's just Golang. So I won't like hash everything they said in the talk because it's just 15 minutes and you should probably just watch it. But it's like a very strong recommendation. I'll give you like the main hook. So Incident.io, they're working on like automating incident agent stuff, which makes sense, right? Who they would want to do that. And Rory Malcolm from their team just shared like how they're building the entire AI infrastructure inside Incident.io. Now they use Go, and it turns out to just like be basic Go tools underneath. Because like they said in the Go blog, all the LLM stuff is mostly specialized hardware and APIs anyway. All the actual model stuff is happening over the network, like not on your service. And what you're doing is exactly what Go is good at, which is like network calls and APIs and text templating, which was just besmirched in Josh's talk, which just happened. But they basically just developed their internal library, and he just shows it because it's pretty simple. With objects like prompt and snippets and like templates, which use Go templating underneath the hood, and tools, which give the LLM access to like real life stuff like search, which all sounds very like AI engineering, complicated. Okay, I'm going to make $450K living in San Francisco doing this stuff, but it's actually very simple Go code. It's just part of how they're just working in Incident.io. So I suggest watching the talk. It's pretty cool. Did you get a chance to integrate with LLM systems yet? Or did you get a chance to avoid it, rather, I should ask?
I've had a chance to avoid it. No, I actually do want to integrate with some for the startup I'm working on, but it hasn't been a high enough priority to actually get there yet, but it'll be there before long.
So if you're in the similar position to Jonathan, just go watch that talk. It's 15 minutes, and I think you'll get a lot of like tried and true knowledge from Incident.io on how to start like the internal, Go-AI library inside your company.
Awesome. It's in my watch later list now.
Wait, so you're saying you're putting it in your watch later list?
Yeah.
Do you store that on Stoolapp by any chance?
No. I put it on I store it with a tried and true trusted database. How's that for a Reddit style comment?
For sure.
Yeah, Stoolapp. What is Stoolapp? Stoolapp is a high-performance SQL database written in pure Go with zero dependencies.
Wait, is it?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's been making the rounds on Reddit, which means we saw it through the lens of negativity. But what do you make of this project after you dug in a bit?
So the main thing that jumped out at me is that it's columnar, which is something I knew about mostly from when Matt Topol was on the show talking about Apache Arrow.
Matt Topol, I currently work for Voltron Data, and I primarily just work on the Apache Arrow libraries in general. That's my day-to-day job now.
But it's optimized apparently for in-memory performance with optional persistence. So I guess it's kind of Redis-ish in the sense that it's designed for fast in memory, and if you want to persist it as an afterthought, maybe then you have that option too. So I haven't tried it. I haven't tried using it. I've just been reading about what I saw shared on the internet.
And a brand new DB, that sounds pretty ambitious, I would say.
Sure,
especially with so many features.
So the thing is, I mean, a lot of the people on Reddit were kind of pointing out what you just said. They're like, this sounds really ambitious. There's no way this is possibly ready for prime time. How dare you say that you have something that's fast? What is fast? Define high performance. But this was a research project initially. Or initially it was a hobby project turned into a research project, and now it's released. I love that. Why aren't people just saying that's amazing? A hobby project turned into a research project, and now it's open source. What's not to love? Who cares if this becomes the new Redis or if it just sits there as it is? I think it's great.
So first of all, I'll say that you got your Redis voice really good in that where you're like, oh, it's not fast enough, to the point where everybody in the room had like a giggle. Oh, he's an internet troll. Jonathan is actually nice. I promise. Sometimes. Even when we stop the recording.
Yeah.
But the problem I'll play devil's advocate and I say, when you put on your website, you're like production ready and you're fast. And then, some engineer at a company is like, oh, this is production ready and fast, and plugs it into their architecture. Suddenly they realize it's a project that's actually maintained by just one person. Even with all the best intentions in the world, they could go on a vacation for 3 months. Okay. Even a medical emergency or something. And then suddenly your project is stalled because you thought it was production ready, but in reality, like you need to have some community around it or something just to have some safety, right?
So,
in your dependencies.
my response to that is that engineer needs to be fired. He deserves whatever he gets.
That Reddit energy is really seeping.
The thing is, my backyard sandbox is your production ready and vice versa, depending on what we're talking about. Production ready doesn't say anything except somebody seems to be using this in production. So do your due diligence before you adopt, especially a new technology.
That makes sense. So it has been like pretty popular on Reddit, like I think last week when we edited to the backlog, and then we didn't get to it, so it got pushed to this week. But I did see like a minor release and a pull request that's like in the works. So it does seem like from 2 days ago. So it does seem like people do work on it. If this sounds like something that might fit your use case and you like being a super early adopter, or you're looking to score some like open source contributions in the data world, this might be a cool interesting project to join.
So I guess we kind of agree that maybe you need to do some due diligence before you use StuLab. But what if you need to do some sort of like, I don't know, full text search or something like that? What kind of product could you use that would integrate well with Golang?
Well, I could say Elastic, but people will say we're biased. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to say just use tail and grep. You'll be fine.
Perfect. I love it. Tried and true.
But if you have to, Elastic just released their new Go client, version 9.0.0. And as someone who's used Elastic, one of the things I less enjoyed is like writing these huge JSONs to define like an index or a reindex or whatever, and then just putting it into the JSON file next to my code. The main new thing in this version, other than making it compatible with 1.23, is that you now have a DSL to talk to Elastic, which is pretty cool because you can do like dot new index, dot replace, dot whatever. Mm-hmm. Sort of a blessing and a curse. I know some people hate like DSLs and ORMs and they just want to talk to the API in the rawest form possible. And that makes sense. And I respect that. That option didn't go away. But the DSL looks super nice. It's like fluent, you know what I mean? Where you call a function and then call another function to add another thing to that query. So it's like dot new index, open paren, close paren, and then dot add whatever. So it reads like English, which is nice. It reads sort of like that, those JSONs, just a lot less verbose.
So I first read this release notes. It says this release introduces an optional package for typed API named ESDSL, but I first read it as named Edsol, and I thought, why would they name this Edsol? But I realized I was reading the release notes for dyslexic search.
Yeah. Dyslexic search is pretty good, actually. Like fixes your typos and whatever.
Or introduces them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, get some extra time on the test. Well, one last thing on the backlog that we really wanted to get to is this sort of big and sort of intimidating proposal about green tea garbage collection, which I opened and started reading and got intimidated and closed it and put it, like tagged you on the backlog so you teach me about it.
All right.
So teach me about it.
I started reading this and I got confused. I'll just give you an example. Go's garbage collector implements a classic tricolor parallel marking algorithm. Now, I can't see the room there. I want to see a show I want you to tell me how many people raised their hands. How many of you understood that sentence?
We have one, maybe two pretty confident high ups, okay. And Josh Blicker Snyder standing there smiling. Yeah, I wrote the compiler. I know every line in it. And I just want to clarify, there are more than 4 people in the room, as you can hear.
So from there on, it says this is at its core. So now it's explaining it in simpler terms. This is at its core just a graph flood where heap objects are nodes in the graph and pointers are edges. Now, I understand that a little better. Like I know what edges are in the graph node. I don't know what a graph flood is. So it's still not enough for me to have a concept in my head what this is. But there's terms I understand now.
Yeah, I know some of these words.
So here's what I did when I was reading this. I said to ChatGPT, explain this to me like I'm 5 years old. And it says, imagine your toy box is messy.
Oh, no.
But it did help break it down for me. So basically, as I understand it, and I'm sure some people in the room, those who raised their hands are going to correct my oversimplification. But rather than sort of doing a sweep over all of the memory to see what should be cleaned up, which is time consuming and isn't very optimal for CPU caches and so on, it does this in smaller chunks, which can be parallelized and done faster. I think it's kind of like cleaning up your toy box one drawer at a time instead of everything at once ish. It has a cool name, so I'm going to stick with that part. That's cool. Green tea. We like the food names on this show.
Yeah, like open tofu and tamago and everything.
Exactly.
But is it actually faster?
So,
like you could convince me because it sounds impressive, but is it actually faster?
Not when you take the time to read this and understand what it means. But if you skip that step and just go to using it, it claims to be anywhere between 10 to even 50% faster under certain workloads in certain situations.
Ooh.
It seems to be much more faster when you're using a high parallelism, so multiple CPUs and multiple Go routines and stuff like that. But yeah, it's faster, or else why would they do it? I mean, yeah. And let's do this new thing. It's slower, but it sounds cool.
And the state of the proposal is like accepted, implemented. Is it already in the language? Like, when will I enjoy this?
Yeah, so it's still
now that I know it exists, even though I'm not worthy of it, I want it now in all my production workloads.
So it is not accepted yet. It is still being investigated. But they have a working prototype that people are experimenting with, and you can try if you're ambitious enough. And there's some actually cute little like ASCII art charts and stuff in here that are kind of neat to look at. So, yeah, you could try it out. I don't know when it would be. I don't know how soon it would be around. The 1.25 freeze is happening very soon. I'm sure it will not be in there, even if the freeze weren't happening. Probably want an extra cycle at least for something this critical.
But if I want to contribute to this discussion, I should go to the discussion and look at the pretty graphs and contribute some more. Is what you're saying, basically?
Yeah.
Oh, I see the graphs. I'm looking at them right now. They are very cool. Yeah. Oh, they use Braille as like ways to do the dot. That's smart. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out about the graphs and not the garbage collector itself. So if I want to try it, do I like turn on some experimental flag? Because that sounds like they could use the feedback.
So it says how to try it. Install GoTip, the GoTip tool. So you install it from the most recent version, and then Go experiment equals green TGC. So yeah,
please focus your attention on whole programs. Micro benchmarks tend to be poor representatives of garbage collection. Oh, I see what they mean. So they want you to run it on like a real production workload and not just a benchmark loop. Especially since now that I think about it, you remember that loop proposal? It takes out all the compiler optimizations, etc.,
right.
Which this might impact as well. Anyways, Go experiment green tea or Go experiment no green tea if you're a coffee person. Yes, Josh. And just to round out that discussion, we have a Go compiler expert here in the room, and he's going to try to shed just a tiny bit more light on it to give us some intuition. Awesome. Doesn't that sound awesome? Like I planned it and whatever. It didn't happen at all.
First of all, the compiler and the runtime are totally separate, and the runtime is really hard. So when garbage collector people talk, they talk about the garbage collector and the mutator, this awful thing out there, which we think of as like the thing doing the useful work. And the mutator is the thing that makes this mess that the garbage collector has to go and run around and clean up. And the challenge about cleaning this up is that the pointers that are live, the parts of your memory that you actually still want to have, are scattered all around through memory. And we know that memory cache misses are slow. And so if you're busy chasing these pointers around all over memory, a lot of what you're doing is going to be cache misses. You're going to spend all your time stalled. So the idea is let's waste, quote unquote, waste some CPU time to try to get some locality. So instead of chasing each individual pointer, we're going to work on chunks of pointers, on chunks of memory. And this might end up being wasted work. We do all of this work for this whole chunk of memory, and we only found 2 relevant pointers or 3 relevant pointers. It's okay. CPUs are really fast, and they're getting faster, and you have more and more of them, but the memory bandwidth isn't keeping up. So let's waste CPU so that we can now do less memory chasing. The added bonus is that we can then throw in SIMD and other really advanced techniques to get extra speed out of this. And so the intuition is burn more CPU, but keep it local.
Cool. I have questions like, does that universally apply? Like, are there systems where memory is relatively faster than CPUs where you would not want to do that? But I think we're getting into
Josh is nodding his head very strongly.
So I think we're getting into details that probably are for another forum. Maybe we can talk about it on the channel. That's a good segue to our break where we talk about that, right?
Yes, our Slack channel, #CupOfGo, Kebab Case, on the Go for Slack. Thanks for mentioning it. Right, so let's move to our ad break with actually quite a lot of interesting updates this time. So if you're one of these podcast listeners who does skip at this specific moment, don't do this on this episode. This episode is sponsored by Elastic. Thank you, Elastic, for sponsoring this episode and hosting this meetup and giving us free pizza.
Oh,
Jonathan, next time you're in the Bay Area,
Got it.
we'll do another event. You need to like AI, though, as mentioned at the top of the show.
I'll do it for that week.
You'll like AI just temporarily. Critical section. Enter critical section. You land in SFO airport. Anyway, Elastic is the company behind Elasticsearch, which helps teams find, analyze, and act on their data in real time through their search, observability, and security solutions. They're building a fair amount of their stuff with Go, and it's become one of their core languages. Their new Elastic Cloud serverless platform is predominantly built with Go on top of Kubernetes, which is also Go, obviously. So they're taking like resilient, high performance HTTP APIs powered by OAPI Cogen, which is by a friend of the show, Jamie Tenna. We'll get to his blog post in the lightning round, that can basically scale instantly without you having to think about infrastructure, which if you're not a direct competitor of Elastic and you just want to outsource search to a company that does that for many years and does it pretty well, it's good news for you, right? Have you used Elastic in the past, Jonathan?
Yes.
So have I. And like other stuff we've had on Cup of Go that sponsored us, obviously we like money and free pizzas, but we wouldn't let them sponsor us if we didn't try it ourselves and we knew to actually recommend it to our listeners. I've used it in a few critical production workloads, and I can just say it's one of these like trusty workhorses that you get to know it and the expertise is really worth it. And their Go integration goes even deeper than their HTTP APIs. Their ingestion products, Elastic Agent and APM servers, are also written in Go. And they're actually one of the top contributors to the Open Telemetry Collector, which is also built with Go. So most of their ingest collectors across the platform are Go-based too. So it sounds like a good bet. If you use Go, you're going to have a good time using Elastic. On the security side, they've got a ton of Go powering their threat detection and response capabilities. And for developers, they've got the dev tooling written in Go to make their development smoother, like we just talked about in the show, the 9.0.0 version of their client. Also, they're hiring across the board. So if you use Go and they use Go, that sounds like a pretty good match. Check out jobs.elastic.co, and they'd love to have more Gophers on board. So thanks a lot, Elastic, for sponsoring this episode and giving food to all the people in the room. And other than Jonathan, looking very sad right now, he's not getting any food.
Awesome. Yeah, if you're not in San Francisco and you're like me, not enjoying pizza, you can still help the show. I don't know how that's related, but we'll go with it. You can join our Patreon, which helps to pay for editing and hosting fees. You can join us on Slack. As Shai mentioned, we have a channel where we on the Gopher Slack. You can also send us an email, cupofgo.dev, find our email address there. And you can buy some swag. We have some nifty mugs and t-shirts and a few other deals. And of course, you can share this podcast with a friend, a colleague, a pet, a student, whatever, anybody who might be interested. It seems like a lot of folks are doing that. I want to talk about some metrics. So we have hit a record this month. The month's not even over yet. We still have a few days left. And we have beat our previous month-over-month record by over 600 downloads. Our previous record was February of this year, where we had 6,557 downloads. We are already at 7,114, almost 600 more. We'll definitely be 600 more by the time the week's over, the month's over.
And the episodes weren't even that good.
Well,
no,
you say you say that, but our most popular episode to date was the one 2 weeks ago where we interviewed Kevin Hoffman of IT Lightning about Spark logs. And we've had other very popular ones. I think the second most popular to date.
Yeah, with Ian.
That one's not there yet, but that's still the most recent episode. That one's only at 1,100 so far. Where we interviewed Carlos Becker. That's the second most popular to date.
From
a couple months ago.
From Go Releaser.
Yes.
Yeah, that tracks. It's a super popular project.
Yep. But we're routinely getting 1,500 plus downloads per episode, which just blows my mind. When we started, I was kind of crossing my fingers. I hope I get 100 one day. And so thanks everybody for supporting the show and making it a success. We do have a Patreon this week, Mikkel Christensen. So thanks for joining. And I think that kind of wraps it up for the ad break.
Yeah. One final thing you forgot, even though we have a checklist that's in Trello, follow the checklist next time, is that you can also, other than sharing the show, we don't pay you to advertise. So other than sharing the show like with a friend or a colleague or a co-student, leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or just physically here, like slapping 5 stars on my face, helps promote the show in various algorithmic charts, such as Spotify's recommendation engine. And that's also at this point with a show that's this big, that's actually, it does matter. It's a new growth vector for us. I think some people told me that's how they found out the show, just scrolling through these apps, which is cool. That does it for our ad break. Stick around for the lightning round to round out this episode. That wasn't better. Can you can you save me here?
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up. Let's do a lightning round and then put this show to bed. I don't know what. That's probably not better either.
More than put it.
My kid's waiting for me to put him to bed right now, so that's on the brain.
All right. Lightning round. My first item for the lightning round is the Google I/O Go presentation. So I was super pleasantly surprised, as I think many people were, to see Google I/O this year talking about Go. They had like a 20-minute talk just about Go and what it does and what they're planning. It's basically our show. They basically stole the format of our show, where they talk about things that happened and things that are coming. But the main thing, they on Reddit, they explained why they did it. They wanted to show that Google has more support for Go, because recently there has been some, I don't know if it's a direct correlation, but recently some people have been talking about, Ian left, and I don't know, the proposals have gotten slower. Maybe Google is ditching Go because it's not AI or whatever. So they really wanted to show like a public show of support. Look, we are the people behind this. We're totally on it. And also they wanted to get more people using Go. So putting it in the Google I/O, which basically everybody watches, was a good way to get more people to know about Go. And they even at the end, because I guess everything has to have some AI connotation right now, at the end they show like how to build the AI stuff with Go, which is very similar to the talk we recommended the news. Another good pattern. I was just happy to see it. If you know enough about Go or you listen to the show regularly, you shouldn't really watch it because they just talk about the stuff we already talk about in less detail.
You heard it here
but
first.
I think if you're trying to like get someone to be enthusiastic about Go, like right now, like a manager who doesn't know about it and you need to pick a tech stack, that's a pretty good, like strong recommendation on why to use that versus another language.
Cool.
What's your lightning round thing?
My lightning round pick is Excelize. Excelize is a library that lets you read Excel files in Go, which I'm using, which is why I thought it was kind of cool to mention it. I saw there was a new release that came out recently. I have some love and hate for this new release, though. So the new release is version 2.9.1, which includes breaking changes. I don't like that a patch release of all things contains breaking changes, especially in the Go ecosystem where you're kind of like mandated to use Semver. But putting that aside, there's some cool new features in here. A whole bunch of new features, new field width capabilities, and I don't know. There's just a whole list of things. Makes it more capable for reading Excel files. I don't think I need these features for what I'm using. I'm just reading a very simple Excel file. It might as well be a CSV, but it's not. But this is still a cool library. So if you ever need to read Excel files in Go, check out Excelize. The link is in the show notes.
Are you using this package like literally in production right now?
I'm using it for this. I've mentioned in passing once today and maybe in the past a startup I'm working on. I'm using it for that. I'll go into the details about that startup on Sunday. But so yeah, I mean, production-ish. We don't have anybody paying us right now for it, but that's the intention.
So it sucks that they did a breaking change.
I don't think it broke us, but yeah, it
might. Yeah, but I guess if you're using Excel files and you need to parse them, this is a good package to do that. Definitely. I don't know how many alternatives you have as well. Maybe use CSV, like you said. Yeah. My final thing for the lightning round is Anton put out another blog post. We mentioned him a few times on the show, and he was even on the show.
My name is Anton. I do some open source stuff, and I write interactive, maybe I can call them guides or books, and interactive articles on my blog. That's mostly what I do in my free time.
He's the interactive release notes guy that does he has a black themed site with all the interactive release notes, which is really nice. He just put out a blog post that you didn't really love about the default transport design in the Go standard library. There's like a global default transport thing, and Anton sort of digs into a proposal and into that design and why he doesn't like it. I think if you're into language design and you want to see like a very specific nitpick, not like a big, huge thing like a garbage collector, but just like something small that people use, this could be a pretty cool blog post to just look at a decision that I agree with Anton is not that great about a global variable in the Go standard library. It is kind of nitpicky and weird. Like I never had a problem with it myself, but it is interesting to read at least.
Awesome.
And that's all we have for this episode. Thanks for listening. And that's it. Program exited. Say goodbye and then
I'm supposed to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Woo!
Program exited. Goodbye.